Alright, it's a bit windy today, so I hope you can hear me. I've got the camera in wind mode, but that doesn't always help. What you're looking at right now is Dr. Robert Korns rose. It's a rose that could grow fairly happily in the shade. And this one has been living under a pine tree for the last 4 years. This is the most it's ever bloomed. Not a cutting rose, as you can see. No scent, but it adds a little touch of color, although it's really white. So I just thought I'd show that to you. It's over on the shady side of the house here. And here's a new hosta, or whatever you call it, that I added last week. What's it called? Oh, Fire Island. It's got red stems and let's say chartreuse, if I'm thinking of the right word. Leaves, light green, and they fade to white as they get older. So that's pretty striking. These are all the old hostas that were here when I came. That's some lily of the valley I put in several years ago. It's just starting to spread. This is something that needs to be gotten rid of. That's a dogwood that came up on its own. It's going to be very hard to get rid of. We still got a little bit of snow on the mountain here, or bishop's weed, or gout weed, whatever you're going to call it. It was here when I moved in, and I thought it was poison ivy. I was afraid to touch it, but I contacted a botanist, or whatever they are, and she identified it as goutweed. And I looked up how to get rid of it, and really the only way to get rid of this stuff is to keep pulling it out. It takes years. So we are making progress, but a few more years before we eradicate it from the property. Here we go. So, I don't know what this is, some kind of ground cover that came up on its own, which is fine with me. And some iris. And I've forgotten the name of this little rose bush, but this is another semi-shade rose bush. I need to trim it back a bit. It's got a lot of dead stuff on it. And here's the garden. I'm going to put down some more cardboard today, as we had a windstorm during the week, and neighbor gave me some cardboard because a lot of this craft paper kind of blew away, even though it had been anchored very nicely. Here we go. Let's move this. There. Okay. And the pumpkins, as you can see, are now uncovered. I figure if anything eats the seed leaves, they've got regular leaves now, so they can survive. And here's the biggest Renegade. We were discussing this on Backyard Pumpkin Growers Society. I'm growing Renegade this year. It's a new pumpkin. Its predecessor was Rival, which I grew last year. And the predecessor of Rival was, I believe, Racer Plus. Renegade is an average-sized jack-o'-lantern, and it is pretty resistant to, supposedly pretty resistant to powdery mildew. And I'm growing it because they claim all pumpkins drop many of their female flowers. Once they're pollinated, they drop them. And this one, it is claimed, doesn't drop as many as most pumpkins do. So I'm still expecting to lose all the first female blossoms of the season, but we'll see what happens. with this pumpkin if it really drops fewer of them. There's another Renegade. There's 8 Renegades, and I have pruned them, so they can't be replaced if something happens. As you can see, we've still got Creeping Charlie showing its ugly head here. And that's the damage that happened during the windstorm. You'll have to forgive my camera work. It's very sunny, and I'm having trouble seeing what I'm doing here, as usual. And this little Renegade is going to have to be, I'm going to have to put a stick next to that because I'm going to step on that accidentally. Okay. Getting quiet for a second here because we've got some people walking by. When the fence is up, this will be less of a problem. With privacy. This is an Atlantic giant vine that I bought. As I do not have any luck with giant pumpkins, I am not really expecting much. It is making progress, however. I do need to fertilize it more. The rest of the pumpkins are not being fertilized right now because they were started in seed starter that had fertilizer in it and quite a bit of nitrogen, so I'm letting that wear off, and as soon as they start blooming I'm going to switch them to a low nitrogen fertilizer, which I will show you at that time. And this one, I have some leftover fertilizer in the garage that has nitrogen in it, so I will sprinkle that on here again today just to get it going. It is already blooming, but this is a maxima. They have a different pattern than the Renegades do, which are peppos, which are smaller pumpkins. You can see a baby pumpkin, I hope, already here, but that's not going to do anything. I can tell you that right now. So I'm not too interested in encouraging more blossoms right now because I'm not looking for a super giant pumpkin. If I were, I'd be encouraging that, but not right now. And later on I'll switch it to the lower nitrogen fertilizer just like the Renegades. I don't know if I have that baby or not. And let's see, got the potatoes that came up. Actually, these were all, what do you call them, new potatoes that I had saved over the winter and never used, and they all sprouted. So I just put them out here, and here they are, coming up. So hopefully we'll have some potatoes this year. And these are, boy, this poor guy is having more problems with his protection. Let's see. It's a Pike's Peak. I believe these are all Pike's Peak sunflowers that came up from seed from last year because I grew these last year. So, there we go. And this one here is doing the best of the 3 or 4 or however many we have. So, one thing I noticed with Pike's Peak is if you don't protect them before their stems get very woody, they will try to crawl along the ground, which you don't want. And all of these are the children of a Pike's Peak that was crawling along the ground last year. And here's what my neighbor gave me to put down on the garden. This is going to be mostly along the edges of the garden. In the middle, I'm going to try again with not craft paper, but these yard bags that they sell at the big stores. that one there is a very sturdy one. Because I'm finding they're working better than craft paper. They don't get blown around. And they're cheap. And over here, we have got, these are the half-long carrots, and they are starting to come up. So I'll be a little less panicked about keeping this bed completely wet. Over here we need to thin out the radishes, and over here these are cucumbers. These are patio cucumbers or short vine or whatever you call them. I can never remember before I have coffee in the morning. And over here, big beef. Big beef is flowering, but it's very, very cold out right now, so I doubt it'll set any fruit. We're having a little cold snap here. And here is our eggplant doing somewhat better. Had a very weak stem on it, so it's a little behind the 8-ball here. And this is garden salsa, which is a mild hot pepper. Let me get out of the light here. It was just beginning to think about blooming, and then it got cold out. But this is only for a couple days, so it shouldn't hold it up forever. Over here's a salad garden. And here we go with beefsteak. 3 beefsteaks. And I need to do some, of course, weeding over here. So, oh, over there, I misread a plant marker at the store and thought this was another mildly hot pepper. It is not. What is it called again? Mucho Nacho. This is a large jalapeno, which I understand is actually a little hotter than your normal jalapeno. So I'm going to give those to the neighbors. They like very hot peppers. I don't. So, that is our garden for this week. And I will see you next week. Talk to you later.